And so I've always wanted to come out west, and San Francisco has always intrigued me. I drove into Los Angeles the night that Bobby Kennedy was shot, in 1967, 68 rather. And then from there, spent some time there. I came up to San Francisco with flowers in my hair. And my first studio was pretty much in the garage that I have. And I worked in there for about a year or so or two. And in the meantime, I was looking for something that was a little bit more appropriate for what I wanted to do. So I looked around and I drove past the Oddfellows building one day, and there was a big sign in one of the windows, you know, space for rent.
The Oddfellows have been in San Francisco since 1849. It used to be the group of workers that were not part of the unions. They did the odd jobs, and they didn't have their own union, so they formed together to support one another and to come to each other's aid. So they, when they formalized, they became the group called the Oddfellows. I came here 13 years ago, and I found a building that was primarily housing the Oddfellows, but maybe 2 or 3 groups remaining. And the place was deteriorating. It had very few tenants. But one of my goals was to fill this building up within a year. No matter the condition of the building, we had to get it back on its feet. We made this a center for the arts.
He's been instrumental in maintaining and developing a whole art scene here in this building. I was the first tenant in the building, the first artist. I'm the oddest in the building. But since then, we've also had a new tenant, and that is Alonzo King, who is a famous dancer, and he has a dance company called Lines Ballet. So the entire building is an arts-related building. And at that time, the area was devastated. You know, it was the Greyhound bus terminal was closed up. It was shortly after the earthquake in '89, so some of the places were pretty shaken up. I often refer to this area as the edge of the wino country in the Urine district, because that's how it was. So I saw the sign and I thought, great place for a studio. I've got to check this place out. And that was some 20 so years ago. And I've been here ever since. And since that time, the transition in this area has been slow but steady. And now it's beginning to hit a critical mass and is starting to really develop. It seems that artists are the ones that take in, they move into these blighted areas, and eventually they become the best areas, from blight to best somehow. It's known that the Bay Area has more artists per capita than any other city in the country. The Midma section from 5th to 10th has been in transition quite a bit. All of the old buildings now are being renovated. I've done paintings of the buildings that are here, and before the transition started to occur. And I'm happy I did, because it seems like almost immediately after I finished the buildings, boom, they all started to get covered up, cranes started to move into the neighborhood, the construction barriers were built around the buildings, and they're all going through facelifts and various other things. So I had a good opportunity to memorialize the old look of these buildings, and I'm really happy that I was able to do that. These places are places that people that live in the city know about. And one in particular, Red Strava House, has become very unique. Well, that was like my Mona Lisa.
So we are moving ahead. This neighborhood will become an arts neighborhood, arts focused. We've always had the arts to an extent, but now we're focused on the arts here in San Francisco. Most of us are residents here in San Francisco. We live and we work here, and I can tell you the scene here is the arts.